A challenge and a success. My mom is a perfect example of somebody who really did not get Joe. She didn't get the mutation, she didn't get the disability. For the longest time she thought if she just had a blood transfusion it would all go away and Joe would be good. Once I got her to understand that part, then she figured if we got the Shriners to send her to the Shriners Hospital, they would fix it. So I mean, we do go, they have an amazing program and she does a lot of rehab there, but that really was not sort of the answer. It took her a long time to be able to get the voice thing, to talk to Joe like a regular everyday kid, and sometimes that still kind of floats out, but she's found her little niche, and reading with her every day. It started with the Little House on the Prairie books when Joe was about 9, I would say, 9 or 10. She happened to see them in the Scholastic book order that came home, said, "I remember when you read those," and I said, "Yeah, I was about the same age Joe is." She said, "Well, I will give you money to buy that for her for Christmas." And I said, "Sure, but who's going to read it to her? I read them to myself. Joe needs somebody to read them to her." So my mom said, "Well, then fine, I will." It sounds like a crazy thing, but it is insanely important for my mom. There's not a day that if she has to miss a day for some reason, she's not impressed. But she makes sure that for the 6 months of the year that she lives in the same city, every single day she comes and sits for half an hour. Like we said, sometimes she sits on the stool beside Joe in the bathroom. Sometimes if Joe's sick, she's wearing her BiPAP, her mask, she'll sit beside her, they hold hands, and they read through their book. They've worked through that series. I think they're on their 4th or 5th series now of books. It's given them a really good link, even though she maybe still doesn't really get the full disability range.
Oh. All right, so I'll quickly recap some of the things we said. So some of our successes are just being able to use a variety of technology in the home. It's right there. We can quickly grab it, pull it out, ask Joa how she wants to do that, and it's awesome. It's a safe and comfortable environment for everyone. We mentioned Simon's husband, Pierre. I noticed a lot more in the home. He'll whip out the Mighty Mo and he'll use it in public. Never unless I'm like, "Hello, Mighty Mo." He won't do it. It's not comfortable. It's kind of a weird situation, you know, so it's nice and comfortable for everyone to be able to try different things. She's able to fully participate in every activity. As we mentioned, things like the Olympics. We all sat and watched the Olympics, so did Joe, and she was cheering like crazy like the rest of us. She's able to voice her opinions and feel heard.
Or she'll say it over and over again. "Mom, come here, please." And then you wait while she gets to the right page again. "Mom, come here, please."
And when that doesn't work, then we hear, "Punch it, Chewy," or "Let's go." Any kind of phrase we can find, she'll say it. She's able to be independent. Well, one of the things we love about the One Step when she was cheering is we could have had it on her Mighty Mo, and we did. However, that meant that I need to sit right beside her and hold her arms. When she had the One Step, she sat on that couch by herself, and she could move her hand to hit it as many times as she wanted. So that was really neat for her. The other thing is she was able to have multiple options to talk, to be able to say different things, to be able to do them in different environments. So those are some of our successes. Should I do challenges or do you want me to?
Go for it.
All right, challenges. So it's very, very overwhelming for new staff. We've learned to just have everything open on the table and staff come in and you can tell by their face, okay, they're done or they're going to stick for good. So it's a lot to learn. We break it up into pieces, but it's a lot for anyone and it's always changing, so that makes it even more complex, right? Everyone uses the technology different. Everyone has a different comfort zone. Everyone is going to do things a little bit different, and that's hard for Jo. It's hard for her to adapt. It's hard for her to be consistent and use it the way she wants it to. The one thing with especially new staff and even us old school people who have been with her longer and have know her gestures so well that we forget to have the Mighty Mo present sometimes, or to have it working. Sometimes we forget to plug it in. Oh, it's horrible. And Jo gets really mad. Your head's in the way. It's always a hard thing to juggle what we're asking her body to do versus how we're asking her to communicate. And you'll see us bring that up again in schoolwork, is if she's standing in her standing frame, she's using a lot of muscles, her brain is working hard. I don't want her to have to use her Mighty Mo and to be flipping through 900 pages just to say, "Go Oilers, go," or whatever team is playing. We always are making the speech on any device age appropriate. if we can, most of her friends record it for her, any girls, not guys, so that it's more age appropriate. It sounds like a girl 11 years old. If not, we never use the creepy robot voice, as she calls it on the Mighty Mo, or any other device. It's usually me or another female aide. And we're always making sure to give her time to respond. Yesterday was a first for me. I'm always on Joe's side when Simone calls to talk to her on the phone. And yesterday on speakerphone, I had to talk to Joe over the phone for the first time. It was the weirdest thing ever. And she was giving me crap because I'm saying things like, I'm asking her multiple questions. I'm not giving her enough time. Simone knew that she was going to say, I'm great. And then she was going to go to the next page and say, how are you? I had no idea. So it was really weird for me. It was a first for sure, even though I've done it multiple times, just not on that end. So that was interesting. So. All right, okay, this is my job. So there's two of you with sticky notes, so this is your time. So one of the things we wanted to do was to kind of talk about some of the challenges we have with communication devices. So quite a while ago when we had some new staff working and the Mighty Mo was having some issues for new staff, I sat Joe down, and we talked about the 5 major challenges for Joe when using a device. And it could be for anything, but for this page, we just pulled up a Mighty Mo page and we asked her what kind of things were hard about it. So right now, we're gonna pretend that we're all nonverbal, that this is our Mighty Mo page. So I might ask you a question, and feel free to shout out only what's on the Mighty Mo page, we'll pretend. Some of you have sticky notes, you have to do what the sticky note says. So that's gonna be an extra challenge for you. And then we'll talk about the challenges that came up later on. Sound good? Any questions beforehand? I like all the gestural cues already. I'm glad you're all nonverbal. So, how are you? How you doing? Did you have a great day at school today?
Yes.
Oh, okay. What did you do? Well, did you do math? That's a memory one. I didn't say that. Hi, how are you? Did you have a good time at school today?
Hey, yes.
Oh, that's great. What kind of things did you do? Did you watch Barney? I know you like Barney. No? Oh, okay. How's it going? How are you today?
Device is not available.
Shh, you're not verbal. What? I don't understand. No, you didn't have a good day at school? No, you don't want to use your pictures? No. Oh, are you trying to tell me it's not working? Oh, I'm really sorry. How do I talk to you now? You could sign. Awesome. That was really
Joe
good.
can't sign. Good job, though.
I'm impressed.
Sorry, I'm supposed to go backwards.
How's it going? How are you today?
I'm so pumped.
You're so pumped. What kind?
Someone's voice.
Come on. What kind of things did you do at school today? What? Well?
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
How are you? What do you want to do this afternoon? No? You don't want to do anything? You're Mighty Mo. What about it? It's not working? Oh. Okay, so you guys kind of get the drift?
Yeah.
So I have to tell you a story. When Joe first started play school, she was 4. And she'd had a bunch of medical issues at 3, and so we decided she's not going to go to play school till she's 4. And we had an awesome aide who worked with her. They went for the morning 3 times a week. It was fantastic. And then there was a day where she was sick. And whatever was going on at work, I couldn't miss work that day. There was something insanely important. I couldn't miss work. And so I said to my husband, well, Joe has to go to school. I can't miss work. You have to take her. He's like, okay, I can do that. Sure, I'll do that. Awesome. I said, don't forget, she needs her 1 step. She needs her step-by-step. You got to bring all of her devices and make sure she's participating with all of her friends. Okay, great idea. And we tend to have a habit, before you use a device, you always hit it and listen to see what's on it before you re-record. You don't want to re-record over something that took you hours to get set up just right. So the next day, I get home, or that day I get home, I hit the button, and it says, goodbye, boys and girls. See you next time. I started laughing. And my husband has a very deep voice. So he gets home and I said, really, dear, you know, I understand the challenge with the man voice, and you maybe didn't want to make a girl's voice, and you clearly didn't want to ask any of the girls in class, but do you really think Joe calls her friends boys and girls? He laughed, and I mean, we've never forgotten it. It was an awesome story.
Okay, so I want to quickly recap those 5 things that Joe said. Oh, whoa, that was impressive. So the 5 major things she said was one of them was talking too fast. So quite often, me included when talking to her on the phone, people will ramble off 1.5 million questions at once, and she's like, wait. Now she has a hold the phone button, and she'll tell you right away, you need to slow down. So that was one of her big challenges, is we'd ask multiple questions. We talk too fast. She doesn't have time. She wants to comment on everything, but she's not having time to flip through her pages. The other thing I should just quickly comment on, these aren't what Joe would have. They're much more simpler than what Joe would have on her device. But Joe had, because of her apraxia and the way we have to support her hands, Joe's buttons need to be massive. She can have 18 buttons on a page, and about 5 or 6 of those are ones that have to be on every page. So yes, no, the go back, clear, all those things. So Joe has to flip through even more pages than a lot of kids would with a device because she can't have as many buttons on a page. So she has just strictly one page that says hi, and then the next one says goodbye. So it takes her time to flip through everything. The next one was that, well, I talked about going too fast and asking multiple questions. Her battery dying. We have a system where if I'm the last one at the end of the day, we have a spot that we plug the Mighty Mo in. She'll quite often stare at it and be like, hello, plug it in for the night. But somehow, some new aids, some people, we get in a hurry and we forget. And does that annoy her in the morning when she can't talk? When things aren't available is another big one. So we talked about how her Mighty Mo might be in the bathroom and she's now walked to the living room. What's she going to do? We have those pictures on a lot of things, but quite often it's Joe trying to spin herself and staring at the bathroom door till we figure it out. So that was another big one. Her hands not being supported. It was really hard to do that one with you guys. But Joe, if we're not holding her hands, how can we ask her to communicate? So she'll quite often stare, she'll look at her hands, but that's a big one is people like Medmare will grab her Mighty Mo, she'll put it on her lap, she'll ask her questions and think Joe's good to go, and Joe's like, how am I supposed to do this? And the last one was baby talking. We've mentioned several times, Joe's an 11-year-old kid. She hates being baby talked and asking questions about things like Barney or anything else that a little kid would like. That's so not Joe. So those were Joe's 5 big things that when we talked about that really bothered her and that were really challenges for her and her devices.
Good.
Yeah, thanks.
So when Joe first started school, again I mentioned play school, at that point in time she really used the talking picture frames. She used One Step and the step-by-step. They were pretty easy devices. Over time we worked up to things like the Tech Talk, where she could have 2, 4, 6, and 8 pictures. And we could record, because it's a multi-leveled device, we could record a number of things that we could just place in for things like the calendar or daily routine items. We also purchased the iTalk 2, where we could give her 2 choices, which was fantastic for either a yes or no, which is quite an easy one, but for more complex reading things, we could put in, you know, if it was a noun or a verb, she could indicate which one. We would have those 2 choices side by side. We've tried to always maintain as many low-cost items as possible and find different ways that are maybe a little bit more creative to assist her. These are card holders for people who are playing cards and maybe have a hard time juggling all the cards in their hand. They're a fantastic way to be able to hold and support pictures. We've bought a number of magnetic numbers and letters, different things from the dollar store. I tend to walk through the dollar store looking for things that would help Joe communicate. As time went on, I went as far as buying easels. We've got a number of tabletop easels. We've had some at home, some at school, ways that we could put things in magnetic or pocket charts. One of the other things that we did is we took the regular everyday books that they were using at school, and I just quickly made a photocopied version, put them together, and had her take the images and the sentences to match them up. She's still reading the exact same books that her friends are reading, but because she's nonverbal, how do you find out that she's actually looking at it and reading? And her eye gaze is quite quick. You can think that she's looked and not actually seen what's there, but she's managed to look at it and move on to something else.